Oh, sweet. Oh, that looks kind of strange, doesn't it? Okay. Oh. Hello, welcome back to the channel. Happy New Year's to everyone who's watching this. It is 2022. And today I decided to make top 5 mistakes fresh graduates make out of college. So whether this will be financial and also kind of like in your personal life. So I hope you find some value from it. The first mistake fresh grads make out of college is valuing money over the learning experience. I've noticed that a lot of people, when they graduate college, they try to chase the bag. They try to go for the highest salary offered through their job opportunities instead of valuing the learning experience. Because the issue with just chasing money versus chasing learning is your first job won't be your dream job out of college. It's just a stepping stone onto your next career or to your next adventure. During your first job, you should be soaking up information and learning as many things as possible so you become competent in the adult and working world. So you're a respectable young professional. But what I see a lot of people doing is going for the highest paying job, which doesn't necessarily fit their personality type. Because the thing is, you have to realize when a company is paying you $85,000 plus right out of college, you're probably working crazy hours. Okay, so they're probably expecting you to work like 50, 60, if not 80 hours during peak season. And they can justify that because you're 22, fresh out of college, and you're making $85 to, let's say, $120,000. And they kind of churn and burn you. I know this happens a lot at consulting and investment banking firms. You're fresh out of college and they want to work you as hard as possible, and the turnover rate is insane at these like consulting/investing bank firms. So instead of finding a job that you can kind of be interested and use it as a stepping stone where the work is a lot cooler and it's a good introduction to the work world, instead of burning yourself out and being depressed at your first job, definitely value the learning experience first. And you have to also realize that just because a job pays higher doesn't mean it's a better job. I've noticed that if you can find a job that works like 40 hours and it's comfortable, and maybe you have to work a little harder, but you love the people you work with, your managers and supervisors are there for you and they're super cool, they kind of serve as a mentor to you. I think that is very invaluable versus just showing up to work just for a paycheck. I know how depressing that can possibly be, is where you're just driving to work and the only thing keeping you around is money. You're not going to be there for that long and your mental health will degrade. An old acquaintance of mine is actually an investment banker and he makes $200,000 a year in San Francisco, but he works 60 to 80 hours a week and absolutely hates it. He is so miserable. And the thing is, he told me he's absolutely depressed, he hates it, but he loves the money. And the thing is, he has golden handcuffs. He can't leave because his job is paying him so much. And he also lives in a $4,500 a month rent in a super nice apartment in San Francisco, drives new cars and buys a ton of toys. So the thing is, he's like a slave to these things. You know, the things you own end up owning you, and this is absolutely true. Personally, where I'm at, that fits my temperament, I'd rather find a job that pays like 70 to 80 versus having a job that pays $100,000 where you're working so much you don't have time to breathe and pursue other opportunities. When you're young out of college, you should be exploring things as possible, but you shouldn't be so burnt out where the only thing you care about is work. That's a terrible introduction to the work world, and you have to realize you're going to be working till you're like 65. You might as well have a good start, and that kind of comes down to realizing what company fits your personality type, what's the work culture like, and obviously pay is important. You know, get your bread, do your thing, but you have to realize there's more to life than just money. Number 2, not paying off your debt as soon as possible. I feel like when you graduate college and you get your first job, you realize you have so much money for the first time in your life, and you realize there's a lot of nice things that I want to experience. I know how tempting it is to graduate college and actually have disposable income for once. You're not broke anymore. You can actually buy new things and you can say, I can finally live life. But you have to realize that debt is holding you back. Debt is enslaving you. It's like living in shackles. And especially with student debt, you have to understand that even if you go bankrupt, it still sticks with you. And even if you pass away, it gets passed on to your family members or your spouse. So definitely get rid of your student debt. Debt is absolutely horrible. It affects your credit and it will affect everything you want to do for the rest of your life if you don't control it. When you start looking for apartments, you run a credit check. Maybe you want to buy a house one day or finance a car. You can't do any of this if you have terrible credit. And that's the thing, is your student debt is holding you back. I know how tempting it is to go and spend all your paycheck at the bars or buying new things because you're tired of being this broke college kid. You want to buy the new MacBook, new iPhone, go to Coachella, get table service. I know. but you can do that in the future. But be responsible now and obviously have a balance. But if you don't get rid of your debt now, you'll never do it, because as you get older, you get more responsibilities, you get more bills, maybe you get married and have a kid, and you want to make sure you have the best start possible. But I feel like a lot of people who graduate at 22, they don't understand that debt is holding you back. It is shackles. It is so bad to maintain. Make sure you get rid of it as soon as possible. Luckily, I graduated college and I didn't have any student debt or loans. I had a full ride scholarship that took care of that, and I'm able to save and invest. But I also live as if I'm still kind of broke. It's a good mentality to have, to be frugal and to save more than you spend. Third lesson this kind of ties into is not investing in your Roth IRA or 401k right as you start your job. These tax advantage accounts are so crucial to your success. If you don't start investing now, I don't think Social Security will be there when I turn 65. So you should definitely have this as your backup plan and you take care of yourself. You have to understand that if you start investing $1,000 in 22, for the next 30 years at a 7% return, you will have $1.1 million from doing absolutely nothing. And I think that is remarkable. Definitely take advantage of these tax advantage accounts, because the thing is, you have time. Even if you're not investing a lot of money or a large sum, you have so much time. The impacts of compounding is so great. If you have 30, if not 50 years of just time to just keep compounding, and obviously with compound interest, you can make bands. It's probably the quickest way to make $1 million from doing nothing. It is so passive, but definitely start now. A little background about Roth IRAs. I won't go too much in details. I'll make a video about this later. Is you can do up to $6,000 per year, and this is post-tax money that is coming from your W-2. And with a 401k, it is through your employer. It is pre-tax money, and I think the maximum is around $18,000. But the thing is, when you pull your money out from your 401k, you will get taxed, versus the difference with your Roth IRA, you won't get taxed when you pull it out because you already paid it. So, bam. Fourth mistake that a lot of people make right out of college is lifestyle inflation or lifestyle creep. If you've never heard about this, this is when you have a disposable income and you start upgrading to match that income. Let's use an example of $60,000. You finally have $60,000, obviously net income versus gross income. It's probably not 60, it's probably like $40,000. Let's be honest. You start buying things to match this income, right? Let's say your first year at a consulting firm, you gotta start buying nice suits, new phones, new shoes. And eventually you'll start realizing that you actually don't have any money. It's not how much you make, it's how much you save. If you're maxing out your money just to buy things to match your lifestyle, you're not really saving anything. Versus if you start living like you're a broke college student still, and you're saving that money, you'll reach financial independence a lot sooner. Because I feel like a lot of people, they start making 60, then they make 80, live in a studio apartment, then they realize I have a bonus, I have a raise, I might as well get a bigger apartment, I should get a nicer car to match this. So eventually you make $100,000, I need a bigger apartment, I need a nicer car, I need to match this, I gotta show and flex on people. It's like, what's the difference between 60 and 100 if you're maxing your income out? It's not that much. If anything, you have nicer toys and more liabilities, but you're not saving. Versus a smart thing to do is, with all the promotions and raises you get, you should keep maintaining your standard base income and save the rest. Now your savings rate went from 10% to 20 to 30 to 40% because you kept your lifestyle in line with who you are. That's really important because lifestyle creep is absolutely there. I've noticed it. I graduated, and obviously there are some minor upgrades you need to make, obviously, to make your life easier. I get it. You need to get a new phone every couple of years. Maybe not the newest, nicest model, but you should definitely get it to make your life easy. An example of good lifestyle inflation is moving to a nicer and safer apartment. I think that is absolutely valuable, where your mental health is not deteriorating over the dangers of the world, or getting a new MacBook for work, because that's an asset. That's something you can justify. But make sure every purchase you're making is genuinely impacting your life positively versus just doing it because it's fun and you're trying to keep up with the Joneses. Mistake number 5. This one's actually super important, but it's probably the least important of the list, is pointlessly partying and drinking in your 20s. I totally understand. You're young, you want to have free, but you have to realize you will not discover yourself blacked out on a Tuesday night at a dive bar. It is not possible. The thing is, you'll discover who you are sober, and the thing is, when you're out drinking all the time in your 20s, outside of college, right? You have your first job, you can actually afford drinks now, is think of the people you're attracting and think of the time you're wasting. And I'm not saying you can't party and be mindful and have a great time. Obviously keep it in check. I definitely know a lot of people who get lost in the party scene right outside of college because they want to retain their youth. But you have to realize you're a young adult now. you kind of have to keep things in check. You have to be a little more responsible. Drinking every single weekend in your 20s is a huge waste of money, and it negatively impacts your health, and you should start looking out for that as you get older, because if you start drinking really early on, this can lead to addiction, and you can possibly harm yourself, or you could possibly destroy your body. You have to realize you're living on earth for like 70 years. You might as well take care of it the best you can. I know how tempting it is to get messed up a lot of the time, but maybe you should talk to yourself and find other hobbies that are a little more healthy and not just involving drinking. I know the drinking scene in your 20s is so tempting, and it kind of is promoted through the mainstream culture, but I think understanding and valuing your own life, you'll start reevaluating the decisions you're making now. Obviously, I'm not saying you can't have fun. You totally can. Get some drinks, hang out with friends, but don't get blacked out every single weekend. You should not live for it. It's something you enjoy. It's something you do, but just be a little more mindful. I hope this video helps you a lot. Once again, this is not financial advice. I'm not a licensed CPA or financial planner. This is just things that I've learned through my experience on earth. I'm some guy on the internet, so please take this with a grain of salt. As always, I wish you the best. Namaste.